Welcome back to the Midgard Archives. Step into the light and out of the cold. In our previous entries, we have walked through the rot of the graveyard with the Draga, felt the seductive eyes of the Huldra in the pines, and heard the morning violin of the Nakin in the rapids. We have explored the horrors of the earth, the woods, and the water, but tonight the archives demand that we look upward. We leave the lowlands behind and ascend into the high, jagged peaks and the shadowed valleys of the Scandinavian mountains. Here, where the wind howls through stone cracks and the sun is a rare visitor, dwells the oldest fear of the north. They are the builders of mountains, the keepers of ancient gold, the dwellers in the dark. They are the trolls. The primal chaos, defining the troll. To understand the troll is to understand the untamed landscape of Scandinavia itself. In the modern world, the word troll has been softened by fairy tales. But in the Midgard Archives, we look at the original accounts, the ones recorded by trembling hands in the 17th and 18th centuries. The troll is not a singular creature. It is a manifestation of the other. In Old Norse, the word troll was often used interchangeably with Jitner, the giants who fought the gods at the beginning of time. They represent the primal chaos that existed before order was brought to the world. A troll is anything that is not human, not divine, and not predictable. They are the mountain-made flesh. They are described as being as large as hills, with skin like mossy granite and hair like tangled roots. Their eyes are often said to be as large as pewter plates, glowing with a dim phosphorescent light in the dark of their caves. Some accounts speak of trolls with multiple heads, 3, 6, or even 9, each one more grotesque than the last, arguing with itself in a language that sounds like grinding stones. Archived account. The Lost Shepherd of Sognefjord, 1812. Our first deep dive into the archives takes us to a remote valley in Norway. In the summer of 1812, a shepherd named Anders went missing. For 3 weeks the village searched the scree slopes and the high plateaus, but found nothing but a single iron-tipped staff, abandoned near a massive fissure in the rock. Anders reappeared 4 weeks later, wandering into his own wake. He was physically unchanged, save for his eyes, which seemed unable to focus on the sunlight. He described being invited into a hall of grey stone that glittered with veins of silver. He spoke of the Mountain King, a being so large that his breathing caused the very air in the cave to hum. Anders believed he had only been gone for a single afternoon. In the archive, this is our most vivid example of temporal distortion, where a few hours in the troll world equals weeks or years in our own. This mirrors the psychological fragility we have observed in those forests led by the Huldra. Anders never recovered. He spent the rest of his life sitting in the shadows, claiming the sun screamed at him. The Bergtagning, the horror of the mountain taking. To be mountain taken, Bergtaken, is the ultimate psychological horror of the north. Unlike the Huldra, who lures with lust, or the Naken, who lures with talent, the troll often takes through a slow, gravitational pull. The archives describe the state of being Jättekast, lost in mind. Victims who return from the mountains are often found with their clothes inside out. In Folklore, this was more than a mistake. It was a desperate attempt to break the troll's glamour. To turn your clothes inside out was to flip your reality back to the human side. However, for many, the mountain taking was permanent. They became part of the landscape. their spirits absorbed into the silence of the stone. The domestic nightmare, the changeling Bortbyting. While the mountains took the adults, the Bortbyting, the changeling, targeted the cradle. This is the darkest chapter in the troll archives. It was believed that trolls, envious of the soul light of human children, would swap their own grotesque offspring for a human infant. The troll child was described as having an insatiable appetite, an unnaturally large head, and a silent, watchful malice. The archives contain grim remedies for identifying a changeling. One account from 1790 suggests a psychological test, performing an absurd action, like brewing ale in an eggshell, to see if the infant would reveal its true age by speaking. From a sociological perspective, this myth provided a tragic explanation for childhood illnesses or developmental disabilities in an age before modern medicine. It allowed a grieving family to believe that their real child was still out there, healthy and perfect, kept in a mountain of gold, rather than lost to the harsh realities of rural poverty. Archived account. The mother of Dovrefjell, 1744. In the archives of the Dovrefjell region, we find the account of Martha, a mother who suspected her child had been swapped. Martha did not use the fire or the shovel. Instead, she used the test of the 7 woods. She gathered wood from 7 different species of trees and began to build a fire in the middle of her cabin floor. As the smoke rose, she began to stir a pot of water with a spoon made of rowan wood, a tree famously loathed by trolls. The child in the cradle, usually silent, began to laugh. Martha reported that the child's voice sounded like gravel sliding down a cliff. The creature spoke, mocking her efforts, claiming it had seen the mountains rise and fall 3 times and was not afraid of her fire. Before Martha could reach for her iron knife, the cabin door blew open. A massive moss-covered hand reached in, snatched the laughing creature, and dropped a screaming human infant on the floor. Martha's child was returned, but the boy never spoke again, his eyes forever fixed on the high peaks of Dovrefjell. The Borderland shields, iron and church bells. How did our ancestors fight a mountain? The archives show that the battle was one of sound and sacred metal. The trolls, being creatures of the primal past, cannot endure the Christian noise of church bells. It represents a divine order that shatters their stony peace. Iron, too, was a primary defense of Borderland shield we have seen in every entry so far. A pair of scissors over a cradle or a knife in a door frame was a symbol of human will. The troll is a creature of stone and bone. Iron represents a refined technology they cannot comprehend. To a troll, iron is not just a metal. It is a sting from a future they are not allowed to inhabit. Jättekast, the architects of anger. Trolls were not just residents of the landscape, they were its architects. Throughout Scandinavia, massive boulders sit in the middle of flat plains. Geologists call these glacial erratics, but the archives call them Jättekast, giant throws. The legend tells of trolls who grew so enraged by the construction of new churches that they would rip stones the size of houses from the peaks and hurl them at the steeples. These stones remain today as physical anchors for the myth-tangible proof for the 18th century. Mind that the giants were real, and they were angry. The sunlight curse, petrified giants. The final weakness of the troll is the sun. As creatures of the ancient, deep earth, they are incompatible with the light of the sky. In the archives of northern Norway, there are sagas of stone. When a troll is caught outside their cave, when the first rays of dawn hit the peaks, They do not deer. They return to their original form. They turn to stone. Many famous rock formations, the Trolltinden Troll Peaks or the Trollkirkir Troll Church, are believed to be the remains of trolls who were too slow to reach the shadows. This reinforces the trolls' nature. They are the mountain. When the sun rises, the illusion of their life ends, and they return to the silence of the granite. The Archivist Analysis. The Sociological Shield. As an archivist, we must look beyond the monster to find the human necessity behind it. Using the lens of the Sociological Shield, the troll is the personification of the wilderness itself. In the 1800s, the outlands were a place of genuine parallavalanches, landslides, and isolation. The troll was a way for the human mind to give a face to these nameless, massive forces. By turning a landslide into a giant's throw, the event became part of a story, something that could be negotiated with or explained. It was a way for a struggling society to protect its own psychological borders. Conclusion. Closing the archives. The trolls are still there. They are the silence of the high peaks and the gnarled roots that look like fingers in the twilight. They remind us that before we built our cities, the world belonged to the stone and the dark. Thank you for visiting the Midgard Archives once more. Subscribe to Open the Archives and Stay in the Light. Our next entry will leave the high peaks and descend into the lightless, frozen depths of the northern seas to face the ship's swallowing nightmare, the Kraken. But for now, look to the mountains. Was that a shadow moving, or did the mountain just open its eye?